Everybody, it's HelpingHans here. Today I'm going to be talking about the recent Dawn of War 4 announcement, and also we're going to be diving into the play session that I had at Gamescom this past week. I had a chat with the lead developers recently, and I'm super excited for it. It definitely feels like it's a return to form. And also at Gamescom, guys, I was given some awesome merchandise. Check this out. I got a Dawn of War 4 mouse mat over here. That looks awesome. And we got ourselves a little pin badge as well. Dawn of War 4 pin badge. As well as a Bloodraven wall scroll. Look at that. Pretty cool. And also, finally, a Dawn of War 4 notebook. Now, having played all three previous installments of the Dawn of War franchise, I definitely feel like Dawn of War 4 feels more like 1 and 2 and not 3, which we all know didn't meet expectations, to put it lightly. So that's good news there. I had about 30 minutes with a mission in the demo, and basically you start as the Bloodravens, you drop pod in to save some Imperial Guardsmen, and then you start doing a fight back against Gorguts' orcs. You take command of the hero unit Cyrus, who you probably will know from Dawn of War 2. He was quite prominent in that. However, we did see in the trailer that he meets an untimely demise, but whether that happens during the campaign is anybody's guess. Over the course of the mission, you capture requisition points as well as power nodes that you can upgrade to increase your output. It didn't look like, for the Bloodravens at least, that you build the power cells that you used to do in Dawn of War 1, and instead you would capture points on the map, and then you would upgrade those points to generate more power. Some of the points, like the requisition points, you could upgrade, which would add turrets, like in the previous games, and then those turrets would then help defend the point. Later, you then tried to stop the construction of 3 Gorgonauts during the mission, and then you got some Necrons that you have to deal with. They had come in with a monolith, you have to fight them back, and then finally, you then take out Gorguts' main base with help from the Imperial Guardsmen. During the mission, I noticed there were many different units to build from different base structures for the Space Marines, the Bloodravens. And after discussing this with the dev team, I learned that over all factions, there's about over 100 buildings and units together, which is an incredible amount of content you're going to be getting. And also, like, some of the units also sounded so impressive, specifically the Repulsor Executioner tank land type vehicle. It had like a Gatling gun, and when that opened up, it sounded so cool. And then for the Necrons, there was the Canoptic Doom Stalker with its blaster, and that sounded really good as well. So there are also cover points that units can enter and exit, similar to how units would enter a building in Company Heroes, for instance. Unfortunately though, I didn't get to really test out the cover mechanics too much because I only had half an hour at Gamescom. But from the dev team, I was told that certain melee units would be able to force those units out of cover. To be fair though, I kind of wish they went with the Company Heroes or Dawn of War style cover mechanics with like red, yellow, and light and heavy cover, with that being green, because it feels like, better with positioning and things like that. The map design as well was incredible. It looked like a big orc junkyard with almost as like a skyscraper of like scaffolding and metal distorted beams and stuff. It looked really good. So I can't wait to see what other maps they have in store for all the other campaign missions, and also for the skirmish maps as well. Other things to note, that there will be an army painter in the game, so you'll be able to customize your factions on how you kind of prefer them. There's also going to be full co-op across all the campaign missions. So there's going to be a campaign for each faction, for the Orcs, the Bloodraven Space Marines, the Necrons, as well as a brand new faction that we haven't seen in Dawn of War before, the Adeptus Mechanicus. So that is going to be really cool to see how they play. And also, furthermore, we've got the Last Stand game mode is making a return. I know it was really popular in Dawn of War 2, so it's glad to see that it's coming back in Dawn of War 4, and a lot of people will have fun utilising their hero units in those missions there. Also, while I was playing, I noticed that the population cap was set to about 300, and that felt quite large, and I don't think that was like a finalized population cap. I think the devs were considering maybe, increasing it or maybe removing it. It depends on how well the game will run in the future, but we'll see what happens with that. But that would be really cool to have unlimited pop cap, because then you'll just be able to, have loads more units and stuff. The narrative for the story has also been written by John French, I believe, who is a known author in the Warhammer 40k space. He's done the books in the Black Library, which is the Warhammer 40k kind of like series of books. So that's good to know. So let's now take a screenshot from some Space Marine gameplay here and dissect it. So at the top left, you can see we have our resource incomes. We've got our requisition in orange, our power is in blue, and then white is the indication of our population cap. Now, I feel like this kind of like resource overlay, I believe, should have been put above the unit cards that we see at the bottom center here that kind of reminds people that maybe if you played Total War, it looks very similar to like that. And I feel like that kind of makes more sense because your eyes would then glance down. If they're glancing down always, because you'll be looking at your units, seeing how healthy they are, if they're in combat. We can see here at the bottom left that one unit is kind of like flashing red, which is, I imagine an indication that they're getting attacked. On the left-hand side, we have the mini-map here, and we can see our friendly units are in this kind of like greenish color, and the enemy are in red. We can see the difference in resource points here. In orange, you can see the orange requisition point at the bottom of the mini-map, and then in the center of that mini-map, we can see there's a blue node, which is the power node. One thing I want to note here is that every unit seems to be just like a circle, a little blob on the map, which doesn't really help for readability. And I definitely feel like here there should be different icons to represent different units. So maybe a certain unit icon to represent an infantry unit, certain icons to represent a vehicle. So instantly at a glance, while looking at the minimap, you'll know if you're being attacked by maybe an infantry unit or a tank, or maybe in some aircraft, something like that. I definitely feel like that should be an improvement made to improve the minimap. On the right hand side, we can see we've got our, when you click on a unit, we've got a breakdown of the unit, their experience bar. There's a green bar as well. And I believe for Space Marines, their green bar is kind of like an armor bar, not morale, which I initially thought. So if that takes damage, you kind of like that helps you, that green bar goes down. Once that goes down, that unit will then be taking damage manually. And then you've got like, the usual retreating that you would have in Dawn of War 2 or 3. I don't think retreating was in the first game, but we have got it in Dawn of War 4. You've got upgrades, tap move, things like that, and your ability bars as well. Also, something, if you play Company Heroes, you'll be familiar with kind of like almost like a command point system. But with here, these points you can spend on off-map abilities. So the first ability here was being able to level up a unit, give them experience, and the more experience they have, the stronger they are. The more veterancy they have. Then there's a fragmentation bomb style bombing run, which is really strong as a second ability. And the third ability was like an orbital barrage, which was really impressive. It completely decimates a whole area. Finally, we have in the bottom next to the unit cards, there's like a reserve area here, probably just for the Space Marines. This is kind of where you would deploy units from drop pods. So you would in your build order, you would queue them up here, and then whenever you want them, you could call these guys down onto the map to assist in your conquest of the mission. So guys, there you have it. They're my initial impressions of Dawn of War 4. They are very positive. I really enjoyed my play session, but I need to get more time with the game and play it some more and really figure out like what's the strengths and what is the weakness of the game. And hopefully I can give this feedback to the developers, and we can make Dawn of War 4 the best game it can be for its launch next year. And yes, that is right. It is going to be releasing in 2026. That's what they've advertised. And many of you are probably thinking, there's not much time, I guess, left between now and next year to make any substantial improvements, but we will see. I mean, based on what I've played so far, it's looking good. And I think, from what I am kind of cautious about is that it is a lot of content they're promising. Like 70 campaign missions, I've already said, 4 factions at launch. King Art Games are the developers. They worked on Iron Harvest. They made a great campaign out of that. And that was their first RTS, so they've got some experience there. However, this is a lot of content they're bringing to the table for Dawn of War 4. Hopefully they'll nail it, but as it's so much content, they might stretch themselves too thin, as I'm sure many of you are probably thinking. So we'll see how it turns out. But first impressions, very good. And yeah, I'll be making more Dawn of War 4 content to come in the near future. Probably in the next video, I'll probably be talking about what I'd love to see in the game and what we should be trying to avoid for Dawn of War 4, maybe things like that. Let me know what kind of content you guys would like to see for the channel for Dawn of War 4. But if you're new to the channel, I normally play Company Heroes, which is also made, the Dawn of War franchise was made originally by Relic Entertainment, and they made the Company Heroes franchise. So I'm very kind of like familiar with those kind of similar gameplay mechanics. And I love strategy games. I play all different types of strategy games. So thanks for tuning on into this video, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider hitting that subscriber button here. And if you want to check out other content, check up over here and over here. And I'll catch you later. Take care. Bye.